All right, it looks like we have everyone. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar, Size Matters, How Firm Size Relates to Patent Quality. Before we get into the findings from this analysis, I wanted to start with just a few quick housekeeping notes. First, if you have a question, you can submit that via the Q&A box. We'll be monitoring questions throughout, and we'll do our best to answer them all. Additionally, this presentation is being recorded, so you can expect to receive a copy of that in the next couple of days. And with that, I'd like to hand things over to Jeff O'Neill. He's PatentBot's founder and CEO, and he'll take us through the data. Jeff?
Great. Thank you so much, Heather, and thank you everyone for joining. Um, so before we get started, we just wanted to do a quick poll just to better understand who is attending our webinar today. So Heather's going to start the poll, and it's just one question with three options. And if you could let us know if you are outside counsel at a law firm, in-house counsel, or something else. And while that's going on, um, so the title of the talk is how law firm size relates to patent quality. So the first thing I want to do in this talk is explain to you what we mean by patent quality, because that's a very complicated topic. We just want to be clear on that. And then we're also going to explain how we're determining law firm size, and then we'll go through and show you how the two are connected to each other. Do we have results on the poll, Heather? You're muted.
I was going to say, it looks like for the poll, we've got 67% are outside counsel at law firms, 17% in-house, and 17% other.
Great. Thank you for that. All right, so let's talk about patent quality. And this is kind of a big word, but we mean something fairly specific. So when we talk about patent quality, what we're looking at is proofreading errors in your patents. And in particular, we're looking at three specific proofreading errors. The first is a claim numbering error, like a skip number, repeated member, dependency error. The second one is an antecedent basis error. And then the third one is a word support error. And this is where a word of your claim does not appear in the detailed description of your patent. And we're very specific about choosing these errors because we feel that any good patent attorney should not have these kinds of mistake in their work. And they're also fairly objective in that everyone's going to agree whether these things are errors or not. And we can also determine these kinds of errors with pretty high accuracy. And that's why we selected those specific errors. And we fully appreciate that this is just one small part of what makes for a quality patent. These are not by any means sufficient to have a high quality patent. But the reason we do this is we feel that any high quality law firm or patent attorney should not be making those kinds of mistakes. So that's why we rate law firms on these kinds of mistakes. So why is it important to avoid these kinds of mistakes? I think it's pretty straightforward. But first of all, when you have these kinds of mistakes, prosecution is going to take longer. You might have more office actions. You might have after final responses. You might have certificates of correction. All of these take time and cost additional money. And the second part is prosecution is more expensive. You might have to pay for more office action responses, more attorney time, things like that. And the third one is probably the most important one. If you have these kinds of mistakes in your patents, you do create risks of your patent being invalid in litigation or that it's not infringed because of these kinds of mistakes. And of course, there are many instances where courts will forgive these kinds of mistakes, but there are certainly situations where they don't, and you end up with a bad litigation outcome. So there's really no reason to avoid those kinds of risks. So at PatentBots, one thing we are well known for is every year we have our annual quality rankings. And what we do each year is we download an entire year of issued patents, every single one of them. We proofread them all, and we know which law firm filed them. And this allows us to count basically the average number of proofreading errors per law firm for each of these 710 law firms. And on the right here, I have a summary of what our quality rankings look like. So I'm showing you the top three law firms from this year. That's GTC Law Group, Harity and Harity, and Getz Balloch. And though that information is public, and we also show you the bottom three law firms, but we're not naming any names here. We only show you the top performing firms. And you can see that each firm also has a quality score associated with it. And these range from 0 to 100, and it's just a way to quantify the differences in quality between different law firms. So the top firms are going to be close to 100, and the bottom law firms are going to be closer to 0. And if you go to the Patent Box website, you can see the top 50 law firms for patent quality. All right, so now let's move on to law firm size. And for law firm size, the way we do it is it's based on the number of issued US patents per year. And we have three categories. We have small, we have medium, and large. So first of all, we discard any firms that have fewer than 50 patents per year. We just need some kind of threshold to, exclude the very, very small firms. So our small firms that we look at have 50 to 100 patents per year. The medium firms have 100 to 300, and then the large firms have 300 or more issued US patents per year. And we pick these thresholds because it gives us three, roughly equal size groups of law firms. There's 240 small firms, 254 medium, and 216 large. So it makes for a nicer comparison that way. So we've talked about quality and we've talked about law firm size. So now let's get to the main question here. Does the size of the law firm make a difference for patent quality? And surprising to me, it actually does, also in some kind of surprising ways. So first of all, I want to look at the top of the top. So every year we publish and promote the top 10 law firms for patent quality. So these are the same proofreading errors that we were talking about early on. And this is the full top 10 list that you can see here. You can see the quality scores for each law firm. And then we added another column that indicates the size of the law firm. So in the top 10 list, 6 of them are small firms, 1 is a medium firm, and 3 are large firms. And we've had a similar situation every year that we've been doing this. I think it's 6 or 7 years now, that of the top 10 law firms for patent quality, it's always dominated by the smaller firms. It's pretty typical to see 6 or 7 of the top 10 to be small law firms. And for me, this isn't too much of a surprise. When you are a small law firm, it seems to me that it's easier to make sure that everyone at the law firm is doing high quality work. It feels easier to put processes in place to make sure that everyone is on the same page with the importance of avoiding these kinds of mistakes in your work. So this is kind of expected to me anyway. So the first conclusion of this talk is that every year small law firms will dominate the top 10 of our quality rankings. So now I want to go to the lowest side of quality, and I want to ask, well, what do the lowest quality law firms look like? And I'll explain how we go ahead and do that. So there's 710 law firms in our data set, and we assigned each of them a quality score that goes to 100. And here we have a histogram where the horizontal axis is the quality score, and the size of the bar is the number of law firms in that range. So for example, on the left, the lowest quality law firms have quality scores between 0 and 10, and there's about 45 law firms in that lowest bucket. And the highest quality law firms with scores between 90 and 100 are on the right, and, and there's about 27 law firms in that bucket. And as that curve, so what I want to do now is I want to look at this lowest decile. So the law firms that have quality scores between 0 and 10 and take a closer look at what those law firms are. So this is the same graphic that I just showed you. The only difference is that I highlighted this lowest bar in red because that is what we're going to look at next. And we have another poll for you. So there's 45 law firms in this lowest bucket. And we want to ask, do you think that these are predominantly small firms, predominantly medium firms, or predominantly large law firms? And I did this talk at IPO, and I also posted a graphic on LinkedIn. So if you know for people who don't know what the answer is, to go ahead and vote. So let's open up that poll and see what people think about if the lowest decile is primarily small, medium, or large law firms.
Right, the poll is open in just a moment. I'll close it and I'll share those results.
Great.
Got a couple more people still casting their votes.
All right, so we have the results here. So before I tell you the results, I'll tell you what my sort of preconceptions were. So for me, because small law firms always dominate the top 10, I had assumed that the lowest end would be the opposite. So I thought predominantly the lowest quality law firms were going to be the large firms. And my thinking there was that, these firms are really big. They might have hundreds of patent attorneys, um, and that is going to be a lot harder to make sure that everyone is doing good work, and that my sort of gut feel was that more stuff would slip through the cracks at large law firms. And in the poll results, you guys were a better judge than me. And most of you predicted that small firms are going to dominate the lower quality firms. And then second was large firms, and third was medium firms. And let's look at the actual data here. So if we break down this lowest decile for patent quality of the 45 law firms, it's dominated by the small ones. So there are 30 small firms, 14 medium firms, and quite surprising for me is there's only one large law firm in this bottom decile for patent quality. So for me, this is quite a surprise, and I did not expect this at all. But let's go beyond the lowest decile and this histogram that we have here. Let's do the breakdown for the entire histogram so we can see in more detail the differences. So this is the same histogram where each bar has been broken down into small, medium, and large all the way across. So the small ones are in blue, the large law firms are in yellow, and the medium law firms are in red. And if you sort of look at kind of just the blue columns here, which represent the small law firms, you can see that the blue columns skew to the left, which is lower quality. In the 10, the first and second and the third decile, these small law firms are quite large. And the large law firms in yellow skew right. You can see that on the right side, the yellow columns tend to be the largest. And then the medium law firms in red are kind of in between the two. So it seems that the data shows pretty clearly that on average, the law firms are doing higher quality work than the small law firms. So our second conclusion, which is surprising to me, is that it appears that most of the low quality law firms are the small law firms. And of course, there are many small law firms that do very good work as well, but the preponderance of the low quality law firms are the small law firms. So big question is why? And I honestly don't have a great answer for you. It's not intuitive for me. Proofreading tools are very inexpensive. A solo practitioner up to the largest law firms have access to these tools. And my intuition tells me that process should be easier for small law firms, so it should be easier to make sure that everyone's doing good quality work. I have a couple guesses here, and I'm not really convinced that they're right. It could be that at a smaller law firm, there's a lack of training in the importance of how to implement good processes, or it could be that people who start their own law firms may have more of like a maverick personality type, more independent, and more willing to do their own kind of thing. But I don't really like my guesses. And if you guys have any guesses, I would love to see them in the questions and we can take a look at them at the end. The clues here today is that we have this small firm dichotomy. So the small firms dominate the top 10 rankings, but additionally, most of the low quality firms are also small law firms. And I think the main lesson here, especially if you're in-house counsel, is that no matter how big or small your law firm is, it's important to proofread the work of your outside counsel to ensure that they are doing high quality work. So next, I want to quickly talk about a product that PatentBots launched this year, and we call it our PatentBots Quality Dashboard. And the reason for this product is essentially to help in-house counsel ensure that their patent portfolio is in good shape. So what we have here is essentially a list of patents. So if you're in-house counsel, you create a list of patents of your company's portfolio. And there's a lot of overlap between like your IPMS software. It has all that kind of information. You have patent numbers, dates, titles, inventors, status, like all that kind of stuff. But what we do is we add additional columns to this list of patents that relate specifically to patent quality. And it's these four columns at the end here. And these four columns are all color good shape or in bad shape. So if something's in green, that means it's in good shape, so you should be okay. If it's in yellow, it's kind of in the middle. You might want to take a closer look. And if something's in red, then you almost definitely want to take a closer look to see what's going on with that patent in your portfolio. So let's look at the specifics of the columns. So the first one here is prosecution duration. And what we're doing here is we're counting the number of office actions, RCEs, appeals, and the number of days total pendency. So here, these are all newer patents, so everything's in green. But as your patents, have longer pendency, these numbers will get larger and the colors will start turning yellow and red to get your attention. The next column relates to claim count. So this is the number of independent claims and the number of total claims in your patent application. And we show it to you for the as filed claims. And if we go down to the bottom row here, we also show it to you for the claims as of each office action response. So, for example, if we look at the claims, but after the first office, so we're down to 2 independent claims and 12 total claims. And so when you're reducing the number of claims here, that's something that's good to know because you want to make sure that you are not losing coverage. That's important. The third column relates to claim length, and this is the number of words in your first independent claim. And it's not the absolute number of words that we care about, but it's changes in claim length. So again, if we look at the row 4 here, the originally filed patent had 42 words in claim 1, but after the first office action response, the length of the claim more than doubled. So that's an indication that you're giving up a fair bit of claim scope there. So as in-house counsel, you might want to take a closer look to see exactly what those amendments are and to see if it's, still worth prosecuting this patent. And then the fourth column relates to claim errors. So these are the same exact proofreading errors that go into our quality score analysis. So there's three numbers here. The first one is for claim numbering errors. The second is for antecedent basis errors. And the third one is for word support errors. And again, that proofreading is done for the as filed claims and also after each office action response. So you can make sure that as prosecution proceeds, that things remain in good shape. And I can't show it here because I'm in a PowerPoint presentation, but if you click on any of these proofreading numbers, we will open up a new window and we instantly show you exactly what the proofreading results are. So you can see exactly why what those proofreading errors are to see if it's something that you need to address. So I think this is a great tool for anyone, but especially in-house counsel to track the quality of prosecution of your patent portfolio to make sure that you're getting good quality patents for your company. And that is part of our Patent Link product, which is just one of the 6 Patent Bots products. Our suite of 6 products helps patent attorneys at all different stages of prosecution, from proofreading to patent family trees. And if you would like more information about any of our products, definitely get in touch with us at sales@patentbots.com, and we're happy to tell you about more of them. So with that, I'd like to address any questions that came up.
Thank you, Jeff. Really interesting insights here. And as you noted, kind of a bit surprising at that. We do have a few questions. So to get started, someone asked, for determining patent quality, are you using both warnings and errors from the PatentBot proofreading results?
Yep, that is a great question. So if you are a user of PatentBot's proofreading, when you look at our proofreading results, we show warnings in yellow. And the warnings are things that we are less confident that it's a mistake or not. So we tell you that this might be a mistake. It might not. It's something that you should look at. In our proofreading results, the errors are shown in red, and the ones in red are where we have high confidence that this really is a mistake that you do need to take a closer look at. And when we do our quality score analysis, we are only looking at the things that are in red. We are basically focusing on the things where we are highly confident that it is a mistake that needs to be fixed. And we don't look at the yellow ones at all because there's a lot more uncertainty as to whether those are mistakes or not. So when we're doing our quality scores, we want to use the sort of the most accurate subset of our proofreading data to make sure the data is meaningful.
Okay, thank you. We've got another one. You've mentioned the quality scores being computed for firms, but do you do that for companies as well?
Mhm. Yeah, so every year when we do our patent quality rankings, we do it for both law firms and companies. Um, and the quality scores and rankings for both are publicly available on our website. You can see both the top 50 law firms and the top 50 companies. And today we've been focusing on the law firms, but we could do a similar analysis for companies, but we don't have that right now.
And then if someone wanted to access their quality scores, we got that question as well.
Yeah, so on the PatentBots website, we do have a page for every law firm and company that is part of our rankings. Um, and these are law firms and companies that have at least 50 issued patents in the past year. And if you are at a law firm and you log into the PatentBots website with your law firm email address, and you go to the page that we have for your law firm, then you will be able to see your own rankings, regardless if you're in the top 50 or not. So we make it very easy for law firms to see their own rankings.
Great.
Companies, you can also see your own rankings, but website. And the reason for that is, especially larger companies, they might have 10,000 employees, and we only want to give access to the patent attorneys at those companies and not just any person who happens to be at that company. Um, but if you are at a company that is part of our rankings and you want to see the details of your quality scores, you can just send us an email at support@patentbots.com and we can give you a special link that will reveal the quality scores for your company. And you can share that link with your patent team so everyone has quality scores.
We've got a couple more questions coming in. One attendee wants to know if the methodology takes into account USPTO printing errors in the issue patent and doesn't count those errors against the law firm.
Um, yeah, so we get the patent data from the USPTO, and I'm pretty sure that the patent data that we get is before certificate of correction. I'd have to double check that. Um, so printing errors, I think, are going to be fixed with a certificate of correction. So I think that would probably cause spurious errors in our proofreading results and quality rankings. Though that said, my expectation is that those kinds of things are small enough to not be meaningful in terms of sort of unjustly modifying the ranking of a law firm or a company. I suppose if you tend to have a ton of certificates of correction that have lots of mistakes in them, then that could impact your ranking. But I think that's generally not the case for most law firms. So it's a good question, but I think it's not something that is that relevant for our quality rankings.
And do you have general suggestions? You shared some of your conclusions on why these things happen. Do you have some suggestions just
Mhm.
overall to help people improve the quality?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. And I think it's interesting because just purchasing proofreading software for your law firm is not enough, like by a long shot. Um, I think the most important thing at a law firm is to create a culture where it is really important for everyone at the law firm to make sure that you are taking the extra effort to find and correct these kinds of mistakes. Not only at the attorney level, but it also helps, have double checks, like have your paralegals run the proofreading results. And it's not enough just to run a proofreading report, but you need to carefully check all the results in the proofreading report and make sure you're figuring out which things need to be fixed and go ahead and fixing them. So, we're selling proofreading software, so we want you all to buy it. But honestly, the most important thing I think is a culture of quality at the firm. And I'll give a short plug to Harity and Harity, who doesn't even use our proofreading software. Um, but Harity is near the top of our quality rankings every year. And one of their firm slogans is "We patented quality." And they do have, a strong culture of quality at their law firm. I think it's one of the reasons why they do so well every year. So yeah, work on your law firm culture to make sure that everyone is working hard to have high quality work.
Another interesting question. Is there a way to view individual patents that were part of the analysis to see if there was one or more specifically that kind of contributed to the score, by bringing it more up or more down?
Yeah, actually, that relates also to something I should have mentioned in response to the previous question. Um, so there are some law firms where like 95% of the attorneys are doing spotless work. Like they have like almost no mistakes in their work. But then the other 5% of the patent attorneys are doing a much worse job. And if you want to be at the top of the patent bots quality rankings, having 5% people doing low quality work is going to kill your quality score. It's really important for the entire law firm to be fastidious about that. Um, and even just a small percentage of your attorneys not paying attention will bring you down quite a bit in the quality score. Um, yeah, so for the question, for this question, um, so I guess to view the patents that bring your score down, I mean, I guess our patent link tool is probably the best way to do that. I mean, we have a list of all the patents, but we can't easily share that with you. But if you're at a law firm, if you're at a company, you can create a list of patents in Patent Link, and within minutes, you'll see proofreading results for every single patent. And that column there that shows you the proofreading errors, those are exactly the errors that go into our quality scores. So by doing that, you can very quickly see the patents that were causing the problems that might bring your score down.
That is a good segue to the next question we got, which is also about patent link. Does it work for non-public and non-US applications?
So Patent Link, as of today, is only for public U.S. patents. Um, but I think either this week or next, public U.S. patents and foreign patents as well. It'll be similar to our Patentplex family trees, where you see all the worldwide patents. I think as of next week, you'll see that same set of patents in Patent Link, and also the non-public U.S. ones. And the way the non-public ones will work is we allow you to log into Patent Center via the Patent Bots website. So once you've logged into Patent Center via Patent Bots, if you give us a non-public application number, we can use your Patent Center credentials to go get the information about those non-public patents, add them to your list, keep them up to date, and also do the proofreading of all the claims.
And another question, can you speak to the PatentBot's OA tools as they relate to quality? So for example, does the PatentBot's OA response shell address every rejection and objection raised by the examiner?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of two questions there. I guess for office action and response tools and quality, honestly, I think the main thing with that is just our regular proofreading. Um, every time you're amending your claims, you need to make sure that you're not causing proofreading mistakes when you're amending your claims. And I think it can be easy during prosecution for those kind of errors to sneak in if you're not vigilant about it, especially if the person working on the office action response is like a different attorney who like drafted the original application. Um, so yeah, the main thing there to ensure quality is just keep doing that proofreading every single time you amend the claims, and also every time you get a notice of allowance, so you can make, an after final amendment to get any mistakes fixed before the patent actually issues. In terms of the connection with our office action response shell generation, um, I think it doesn't relate directly to our quality measures. Um, but I think our shell generation can help make sure that you're not forgetting to address, one of the rejections in the office action. One thing that our shell generation tools do is we extract all the rejections in the office action and we basically put them into the shell. So you basically have an outline of what you need to do to respond to the office action. And having that in the shell that we generate helps make sure that you don't forget to respond to something. So not quality related, but you don't want to get your office action response rejected for not addressing all the examiner's rejections. So it is a helpful prosecution tool.
All right, I think we have gotten all the questions. So thank you all for your time today. We appreciate you joining us. As Jeff mentioned, if anything else does come up, feel free to get in touch with us. You can do so via sales@patentbots.com, and we'll share the recording of the presentation in the next few days. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Jeff.